I am very, very pleased to be with my dear friend and colleague, Bernard Haitink, today. And it's an unusual thing to speak with someone who, in my early years, was already a very famous conductor, and now to be sitting with you here in Berlin is quite thrilling. We just listened to the rehearsal that you led with a chamber music version of the Siegfried Idyll. And I wanted to ask you if you could set the stage for us for the premiere of that piece, because I know that the actual house, Triebschen, is very close to where you now live.
Yes, totally by accident. It must have been very beautiful in Wagner's time. It must have been totally free from any building. This lovely old-fashioned villa. There's a huge staircase outside which leads to the entrance. I say that because when Siegfried was born, Wagner composed his Siegfried Idyll. And it was performed on that staircase of the Villa Triebschen. I don't know how it, I wonder how it must have sounded. The conductor, Richter, learned the trumpet for that occasion, and he didn't conduct, he played the trumpet part. It was very much a family thing. 13 players. And I don't know if you can talk about the chamber music version. It was composed that way. And nowadays, with bigger halls and different hearing attitudes, one tends to have it played by a bigger orchestra, which in my feeling is a terrible shame, because it is an intimate work. And I discussed the piece with my wife, and she said it is the most beautiful love letter a woman could have got. And that's really, really true. It isn't. All of a sudden, Wagner is a totally intimate, nearly introvert composer who wrote a loving thank you to his wife. Wow. And that was performed in the Villa Triebschen outside. Wow.
Now, it's a very interesting program. You know, on the one half, we have the Beethoven Eroica Symphony, which is a very extroverted work. It's a work for all people. But then we have on the first half 2 very intimate works, not just the Siegfried Idyll, but also the Wesendonck-Lieder. And I know that the 5th movement, the Träume, is something that Wagner had arranged to play under the balcony of his girlfriend of the time, who was the wife of Otto Wesendonck, Mathilde Wesendonck, who wrote the lyric.
Yeah, there was a great love affair going there. And Wagner didn't shy away in that respect. And he was really very much in love with her. And he wrote these wonderful songs, which are a reminiscence, and even more than that, a study of Tristan. And there are moments where Tristan is totally alive and is there. And that is the wonderful thing. Again, yes, another introvert Wagner. But totally different from the Siegfried Idyll. And you know, this music's so difficult. What can you say? Beautiful, beautiful. But that doesn't say anything. And to give a technical analysis is also totally wrong. And music has the power to start there where the speech is not sufficient anymore. That's how it is. And therefore, I personally shy away from many interviews because I think everything is said in the music. But this is an exception because the Berlin Phil, I know them for such a long time. I think I'm in and out as a guest nearly 50 years or something idiotic.
You're also an Ehrenmitglied, you're an honorary member of the Berliner
Yeah,
Philharmoniker.
also that, yeah.
You know, we enjoy it so much when you come, and the fact that you speak very little to the orchestra is duly noted by us, and you really do practice what you preach. You speak very little, and you show very much.
Well, that is my credo. If I have a credo, that is my belief that the conductor, once you stand there, you have to make yourself clear. And what I always tell my students, once the performance is there, you can't talk anymore. And you must make sure that the orchestra members have confidence in you, that they will get the motivation to be confident with you, and that you can give them what you want to give them. And therefore you have to use your hands, your personality, whatever that is. And when you want to say a thing on rehearsals, it has to be clear and not too wishy-washy.
That's very true for us. I wanted to ask you about your conducting technique. We were speaking today amongst ourselves that we noticed that when you are conducting in piano and pianissimo, you conduct with a very great intensity. You have a very, very great intensity in piano and pianissimo. And then when we're playing forte or fortissimo, you're much more relaxed and somehow letting us fill the space with sound. And I wanted to ask you if you're aware of that you're very intense in the quiet moments.
Yes, I hope that it doesn't put off people, but I want to have an intensity of sound, because there's a danger that in the piano it fades away. Forte and fortissimo very often come by itself.
Yeah.
And as a conductor, I don't like this demonstrative bullfight. I don't think that leads to anything. Yes, that is my way of doing things.
Yeah. I have often thought that the life of a conductor must be very lonely, in the sense that your greatest moments are with your back turned towards your public. Yeah. Do you ever consider the public, or do you feel them?
Strangely enough, not so. I love to be with an orchestra. And of course, I'm now in a stage of my life where I contemplate, in any case, to do less, and maybe I should stop. And when I discussed that with my wife, who's a musician herself, we come to the conclusion, it's not so much the public. I would miss very much the thing, the whole, with an orchestra, the members, the exchange of ideas. Even if you have very short contact, it always means something. Of course, I'm very spoiled because I have an audience, and it's wonderful to have a responsive audience. But strangely enough, for me, it makes more impression on me when I have a few friends in the auditorium than 2,000 people who I don't know. That's a problem. And I think it is also symbolic. I'm with my face towards the orchestra. That's the important thing. And listen, without an orchestra, a conductor is nothing. So one better thinks of the orchestra.
I wanted to ask you, in your working with the young conductors, do you ever have the sense of the role that luck plays in the turns of fate for their careers?
Well, to start with myself, as a real conductor, I had an enormous luck, of course, because it was stimulated during a conductor's course by then Ferdinand Leitner, who saw something in me and who helped me. And that was very, very lucky thing. I also had luck that at that time there were not that much in my country, not that much talents. Maybe that would have been more difficult nowadays. And the whole scenery has changed so much. When, as a young conductor, you have a talent, you are immediately grabbed by media people, by all sort of things. And there's a big danger that you are too soon jumped into a too important position. These are, of course, the complaints of an elderly man. I mean, one has to be very careful. But I see it around. On the other side, I have the joy of having contact with few of my students who I think are doing well. And one, I can mention his name, David Afkam, who is already conducting many orchestras. And what is the luck in his life? He's not a man who looks for luck, but he has the talent to be at the right moment, at the right time. And don't ask me what that is, I don't know, but that happens. I have another very talented one who's totally different, who is not always there at the right time, but will make his career too, but in a different way, slower and maybe more introvert. But it's a very difficult, not to say obscure profession. And there are many, many wrong opinions of it. But when I go into that, we would sit for hours here, and that's better not.
I think actually we're just about out of time, but I want to very much thank you. In the name of my orchestra, it's a great honor that you've made this exception to give an interview for us today. And you're such a gentleman and scholar, and we're so proud to have you as an Ehrenmitglied of our orchestra, Bernard. Thank you so much.
Well, Matthew, it's very kind of you. I don't know what to say. I just love to be here. I love to have contact with musicians. I'm lucky that mostly I get along well with orchestras. And if at the occasion that I'm not, I just can have the luxury to say I'm not coming back because we don't color very well together. But I have to say that didn't happen much in my life. And my visits to Berlin and my work with the Berliner Phil is always for me pure joy.
It's a very mutual feeling. Thanks, Bernard. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks so much.